Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Pole Position podcast powered by Sports News Blitz. I'm Henry Eccles, contributor to F1 on Sports News Blitz, and I'm joined by Alexandra Whyte, also contributor to F1 on Sports News Blitz, and Nicole Powell, the SMB deputy content editor. And we're here to talk about the last two rounds of the F1 season, focusing primarily on the latest one in Monaco. And well, who said Monaco was boring? Because there's plenty of stuff to talk about. We'll start off with the big one, and that was Kimi Antonelli's fifth win in a row. Obviously, one in Montreal with a pretty commanding race. Nightmare for George Russell there. Another nightmare for him again in Monaco. But it's 5 wins in a row for Kimi Antonelli. And really, the question I have for you two is just how good is this kid? Because I'm just baffled each week at this stage.
Yeah, I would have to agree. I don't even think it's necessarily just the car anymore when we see how much Russell is struggling with it. I have heard people say that maybe Antonelli is used to driving hybrid cars compared to Russell, but I think that would just ignore the absolute immense talent he's got. I mean, he's the youngest F1 winner in Monaco. That's an insane statistic as himself. No one's ever won the 5 Grand Prix from poles that he did. He's now he's just smashing out of the park. I think he's a generational talent.
Yeah, I have to agree about the generational talent bit because we've seen Antonelli throughout his career just be one of those ones you're like, that's the person that you need to be watching. And he came into F1 really young. Everyone doubted Toto. Well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people doubted Toto on bringing him into Mercedes immediately at his age. And yeah, he had a season that was not bad, but it did back some people's points of is it too soon for him to be in F1 or in such a big team in F1. But this season, I think we can say we've seen a more mature Antonelli in his driving because obviously it's a high pressure situation to have the fastest car on the track and have a teammate like Russell who you know can beat you on a good day, on any day. So I think it's just Russell is having a lot of bad luck, and I think Antonelli is probably the one who's handling the pressure a lot better. And he's doing really well. I'm sure Toto is really laughing at everyone's faces, like I told you guys, this kid is the truth. And he's doing really well, and I think he's displaying a maturity that people didn't think he was going to be able to display at this point in his career. But he's doing really well, and I would really love to see him win the title. I mean, he's the first person to win their first 5 races in a row. He just keeps extending that record, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing just how much longer he can sustain this fight if Russell does come back, which I think we can all expect him to come back.
Yeah, for sure. Just on Antonelli, that 5 race wins in a row. That's equaling Lewis Hamilton's own personal record of how many wins he's been able to get in a row. So to do that at 19 is just spectacular. But actually, just on the difference between this year and last year, I think sort of 2 things can be right. I think I don't think he was completely ready for last season. But I think we've sort of shown that was okay because he's just learned through it. We're entering the European season now, and that was his toughest time last year. And obviously he's got off to a pretty good start. So I think it's all just happened the way it was supposed to. And yeah, credit to Toto Wolff, and he's taking every opportunity he can to kind of gloat about how people were downplaying Antonelli's sort of the expectations around Antonelli, and credit to him. Yeah, it's just fair play. That's I would too. So yeah, on Russell, yeah, a lot of bad luck. And I think speaking about Montreal, I think he showed glimpses of why he can still, I think, compete. I think would have been lap 30 he retired on, and it was a pretty chaotic 30 laps between him and Antonelli. Antonelli probably showed that he was the he's the quicker driver between the two naturally, but Russell was a lot more controlled for those 30 laps. And I think, yeah, if he can just get a clean weekend, he's got every chance of racking up wins for sure. And it was pretty heartbreaking for him as well, just to have to, with those penalties in Monaco. Just loads of bad luck. But someone who's having a good spell of luck is Lewis Hamilton, because he's got his second P2 in a row, following on from Montreal. And I think just both weekends he's been there or even ahead of Charles Leclerc, and definitely his two best weekends in F1 for Ferrari. So what did you guys make of it?
I mean, it's no secret that me and Nicole both love Lewis Hamilton. It's just a given at this rate.
I do too.
We all do. We've all got stuff to for him. But I just think he's back on track, and it's finally, it's nice to see him in that headspace where he's not like, it's shit, I'm having a terrible time, it's awful, la la la, I hate myself, blah blah blah. I don't think the same can be said for Leclerc, unfortunately. But I think with Hamilton, it's keep it consistent, keep it steady, and Ferrari bring up any more upgrades. I think we'll get to see a lot more of what they're capable of.
Yeah, definitely. We're also happy to see Lewis actually delivering results that we know he can deliver. 2 P2s in a row. His first P2s with Ferrari, and then one of them coming at Monaco, where he's succeeded so many times, and it feels like such a relief to see him also look so comfortable. Even when he's speaking after races, after sessions, he looks more confident. Like you've said, Alexandra, it's just he's not speaking as negatively as he was before, because it was not going well before. And we've seen this season has started on a much better note than last season. Yes, we've still had our typical Ferrari, what can we even call it? Just typical Ferrari, just being Ferrari. So you've had some scary moments, but we've definitely, this entire season, I can say, seen a Lewis Hamilton that looks a lot more confident in the team and in the car that he's driving. And I think just if Ferrari, I don't know, it's just qualifying is still a bit of one of Ferrari's weakest areas right now, because we were fastest in all the practice sessions, if I remember correctly, P1, P2. And then qualifying it's just not entirely the same. And then race day, because we both know Leclerc and Hamilton are very good when it comes to racecraft, and we know they can find positions, they can win races if they have the right car. They're really good on Sundays, and I think it's just qualifying really needs to be improved for both drivers, mainly probably Lewis Hamilton, but I can say he's still, just like with the season as a whole, he is also improving on that front. But it's really good to see him P2. Leclerc, the Monaco curse wasn't broken, but he has to try again next year. But he had a good run this year. He had a good run. It's unfortunate, but I think just Ferrari just need to keep being consistent. Lewis Hamilton needs to keep being consistent. Leclerc needs to find some confidence again, and just hopefully Ferrari also bring the right upgrades moving forward.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't know if it's probably too early to say after just sort of two really good weekends against Leclerc, but I just wonder if it is slightly getting into Charles's head. Just given, he finished P4 in Canada, Hamilton P2, obviously, but he sort of he described it as the worst weekend of his F1 career. Then he signs this Ferrari deal, big talking point there, just again showing his loyalty to that team, despite never really looking like he can win a world championship there. We'll see where that goes, obviously. And then we come to Monaco, and Leclerc, he crashes on that red flag, or in that safety car restart. Not entirely his fault, I think, because of the track was a bit broken up in that area. He's since then sort of blamed the brakes, and then you had this whole drama with the brake supplier then coming back at him. Then you've also got like the this whole simulator approach that Hamilton has ditched. He's ditched his simulator, whereas Leclerc has obviously stuck with it, and that's completely fine and valid. And most F1 drivers these days do use the sim, but I just wonder, with Hamilton's success not using it, and Leclerc wanting now to move on to his brake configuration, just little seeds of doubt, I think, maybe that we haven't really seen before at Ferrari. Leclerc and Sainz were really close, but I think Hamilton's slightly different. I think if you've got Hamilton on form, I think we can agree that it's a pretty tough challenge for Leclerc. So I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. I mean, at the start of the season, we saw them battling each other, through every corner in China. It was. So yeah, more of that, please, because it's certainly an interesting time for them at Ferrari. Next up, well, we want to talk about the race start itself, because speaking of bad luck, Max Verstappen, he didn't really get going. As far as I'm aware, he had a problem sort of in the formation lap, and then just completely stalled, and sort of did the engine in. Bit of a nightmare. Whereas for once, Red Bull have a second driver to rely on, and Adjar gets the podium. So what did we make of Red Bull's weekend as a whole?
I think it was surprising. I don't think anyone expected it from a team as big as Red Bull to have such a disastrous failure. I mean, having your number one driver unable to get the car going, having problems in the formation lap already, and then just stalling right on the race start is not something that we're expecting to see from a team that's had the success that Red Bull has had. I don't know if I'm wrong, but I think this is the first year that Red Bull's made their own engine. Yep. So I don't know if that's maybe having unintended issues, and I wonder if they're maybe backtracking a little bit on sort of consolidating their engineering into the home factory. I think Verstappen's reaction could have been a lot worse. And, I was sort of expecting, all guns blazing Verstappen to come out like effing and blinding and shouting at everyone. So I think it is a reflection on the maturity that Verstappen has gained, and I think that has to be commended as well. But like you said, Red Bull finally have a driver that they can rely on. It's not going to be like, right, we're not even going to get in the points. What's the point? And I think was a bit touch and go for Hadjar with those penalties and the investigation. And I always hate when investigations are going to happen after the race, especially when they happen after the podium ceremony, because the driver's sort of a bit like, can I celebrate? I have this trophy in my hands. Is it going to be snatched away from me in the next, 30 minutes? But I just think it was really great to see him up there again. And, it's just nice to see Red Bull utilizing both drivers and not just relying on Verstappen.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even speaking on Verstappen's mentality, I'd say it's for the last 2 seasons we've had Verstappen is about to exit F1 rumors. They've been flying around, especially with a Red Bull not being where they had been since 2021. And I think it's just also for him, he's more in a place where he's not that he's not hungry, because I think if you're not hungry for a win in F1, you shouldn't be on the grid, period. But I think it's more of he's reached some sort of acceptance, I think, in his mind, with where Red Bull are. I think he just completely understands that they're not going to fight for anything truly important this season. So I think he's just realizing maybe I don't need to be overly dramatic about anything. But that was some really bad luck. Hopefully he can enjoy F1 again with Red Bull, because that's a partnership that is it's just like Charles with Leclerc, is you just know that's his team. That's a team he's going to be loyal to. That's a team that's going to be loyal to him. And it's the same thing with Max and Red Bull. So hopefully there's going to be a bit of change in fortune for him in that team. But yeah, it's really good that Hadja is finally the driver that can finally be like, yes, I am a Red Bull driver, and yes, I do deliver results. It's really good to see him on the podium. That was well deserved. Very, he almost lost it because of the penalties, but he definitely deserved that one, and it was nice for him to be on the podium with Lewis Hamilton, I'm sure. So yeah, just really strong result from him. Really promising talent he is, and at least Red Bull now know that if driver one cannot deliver, we still have another driver that can give us something, some hope. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it was a big kind of weekend of irony actually for Red Bull, because we're talking about their engine issues, but then after the race, it gets revealed that with these engine upgrades that are meant to come out, Red Bull actually have technically the strongest engine, which I don't think any of us were expecting, because it's been. I mean, Mercedes, yes, they've had their reliability problems with Russell last time out in Montreal, Norris this weekend, but they've been clearly ahead in the competition, on track, but yeah, Red Bull have obviously they've done something. They've done something really, really actually impressive with that engine, considering it is their first one. But at the same time, it's rather embarrassing because it means something's gone quite terribly wrong elsewhere in terms of that car's development. And it's yeah, I mean, we're talking about how there's almost kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel with Hadjar's result. Okay, if you can't rely on Verstappen this weekend, you've got Hadjar. And then with that, we're all kind of then saying, and there's probably going to be engine upgrades to come. Who knows where they can go? No, snatched away. So they won't be able to have upgrades to their engine, or additional upgrades to their engine this season. Whereas Mercedes will get one, Ferrari will get two, and then that's 26 and 27 as well. But obviously it's additional upgrades, so they can still make improvements elsewhere. But yeah, really mixed weekend for Red Bull. We'll get on to Hadjar's. So who Hadjar displaced for the podium result, and that was Pierre Gasly. I don't know if you guys saw, but he crossed the line, obviously P3, but he had a cumulative 10-second penalty for pit lane speeding, which is a whole story in itself, because there were so many. But he was celebrating. He was celebrating his P3, clearly unaware that of any incoming penalty, which to me seemed odd, because it seemed like he seemed aware of it during the red flag, but maybe he didn't know about the second one. I don't know what was going on. I don't think any of us do, but it was surprising to see that he hadn't been told, and obviously heartbreaking, because as he said, that's the dream, a podium in Monaco, obviously for a French driver as well. That was heartbreaking.
Yeah, I think it was really awful to just sort of see that celebration immediately ripped away from him over the radio, and you can literally feel how he's feeling because of how devastating it must have been. I don't know why they wouldn't tell him about the second penalty, because like you said, he seemed very aware of the first one. Yeah. During the red flag and the session being suspended, but I don't understand what would go through a team's mind of not telling your driver that they've got this penalty, because for me personally, it would be tell them so that they push that extra bit harder and that they can outrace the penalty seconds, that they can leave enough of a gap to the next person so that that penalty doesn't count. So I don't know what was going through Alpine's mind at that point in time.
Yeah, it's definitely disappointing, because when was the last time we saw Alpine on a podium? Was that Brazil 2024? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
That would have been a really strong result for them, especially on a track like Monaco. But it's very disappointing. But everyone got penalties. Literally, I don't even know if there's a driver who didn't get a penalty. Everyone got penalties, or nearly everyone. But is definitely questionable for Alpina to let him know, because that's also just something he needs to know, that is in the back of his mind, that he needs to fight for more time if he can get more time. If he can't, he can't. But he's probably better off knowing. Just, you never know. Anything can happen. This is F1. Something could change just like this. Like even when the safety car came, it's just like you thought you were okay, and now you're not okay, and everyone was, yeah. So it's just poor communication. But good on for Gasly being in a really good position, crossing the line in P3. As much as the penalty took that away from him, at least we can say he drove a race that at least deserved a good result. So yeah, kudos to him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a P7 result, I think, in the end. Still quite good, actually, considering where Alpine have been in the last year or so. So, but obviously it won't come as any kind of consolation for Gasly. But yeah, I was so confused because I don't even know if he finished actually like 5 seconds ahead of Hadjar in the end. But yeah, to me it seemed like he was aware of it, but maybe not. Maybe I saw some people saying that it was maybe something. It was like a sarcastic cheer or something, but I didn't. I don't understand that either. But yeah, I mean, as we said, it seemed like everybody got a penalty for pit lane speeding. At least I think 5 drivers in total. But that was a really confusing one, and I think it's kind of been not officially confirmed, but I think the reasoning behind it is that Cadillac's introduction into the Monaco pit lane sort of has left a bit more of an open space, at the end of the pit lane, and there's a bit where drivers normally can cut in Monaco. Just that's the way it's always been. But with this sort of more open space, they were a bit more encouraged to do it, I think, on pit exit. And they might not have actually gone over the speed limit. Rather, they've just gone a shorter distance, and because of how it's measured, that's where things went wrong. Alpine did launch a sort of a right to review. They appealed the result, but I don't think anything's going to come of it at this stage. It would be, I think, quite an embarrassment for everyone involved if it did. But who knows? Even by Formula One standards, you can never rule things out. So we'll move on to McLaren, actually, because they are having quite the stinker, aren't they? P4 for Piastri, which was a good result, I suppose. But Lando Norris, another DNF, 2 in a row. They just haven't got a handle, I think, on that Mercedes engine. All sorts of issues. Norris seems he still seems hopeful that a turnaround can happen, but I think it would be pretty surprising at this stage.
I almost feel like Norris is more delusional than Piastri. Piastri seems to have accepted that, he's got not a great car and he's the one getting semi-good, finishes, whereas Norris is getting DNF after DNF, and then is like, yeah, it's fine, guys. We're fine. We're world champions. It's fine. And you do have to sort of admire that mindset of being able to just go, look, whatever's happened has happened, but we are going to be fine. But I don't know if it's going to come back and bite him in the bum in the future seasons. But he does always do quite well in the European circuit, so who knows? But I think McLaren just haven't got a handle on these new regulations. They're really struggling with how it's working for their car. I think the old regulations suited them a lot more, their style of driving, their style of engineering, and I just don't know where it's going to go for them. But they have come back before. Yeah. Strange things have happened in this sport.
Yeah. And I mean, it's only there's only 2 races now for them without points at all, without points from Norris, and then Piastri, I think, has gotten points from every race is at least started and finished, apart from one. So it's been a bad season, but at least they're still getting points. But as per the standards they set last season, I mean, Norris is the reigning world champion, McLaren are the reigning world champions, and they've just not impressed at all this season. They did impress when they were finally able to start a race in Japan, and we had I think it was Piastri on the podium, and it was like, oh, okay, so McLaren do have something here, and they actually did better than Ferrari. But now it's like it's clear that they're still just not finding their footing quite well, because Piastri didn't start the first two races, then Norris didn't start the second race, and now he's not finished two races, and it's just when you think they're doing well or doing decently or just finding some ground against the competition, is just things just fall apart again. And yeah, it's very disappointing considering where they were last season. But the season is still young, regulations is still young. Hopefully they can find some pace in that car. They can find some, they can close that gap a bit to the ones ahead, to Ferrari and to to um to Red Bull as well, because Red Bull is still competition. Red Bull are also having their own struggles, but at least Red Bull are finishing races more often than McLaren are.
They certainly are. I think there was a stat after, it was probably after Montreal, where in terms of laps completed, I think McLaren might have actually completed less laps than Aston Martin, because of their failure to start, failure to finish, which is quite the thing. It might have changed now. Yeah, I think it was after Montreal, but I think it might have, or maybe it changed after Montreal. I'm not too sure, but yeah, there was definitely a point in the season where Aston Martin had completed more laps, which was ridiculous considering where they've been. But they had a good weekend. They scored their first point with Fernando Alonso. That was great. It did come as a result of Sergio Perez's penalty, which wasn't related to the pit lane, and that would have been a first as well. That would have been Cadillac's first point. So swings and roundabouts. But yeah, I mean, we'll see where they can go. I think Alonso, he keeps talking about the second half of the season, and we're just talking about McLaren's sort of ability to turn things around, which they've done a couple of times in the last few years. We'll see if Adrian Newey and Aston Martin can get things going. Hopefully in the second half of the season, they're bigging it up, and we're getting closer. So we'll have to see. I think elsewhere on the grid as well, shout out to the Racing Bulls, fifth and sixth. That's solid. That's very solid for them in that midfield fight. And actually disappointment for Audi, I think, as well, because they came into the weekend looking like best of the rest, and neither of them finished in the points in the end. Hulkenberg crashing into Sainz at the red flag restart. So yeah, plenty of drama. I have to ask though, because I was live blogging during it, and it's always a bit difficult to kind of, whenever there's so many penalties, you think that loads is happening, and sort of, it's a dramatic race, and it was a dramatic race. But was the on-track action really, an improvement or not? I'm not too convinced if it was.
I mean, I'd say it's probably the most exciting Monaco Grand Prix we've had in a while.
For sure.
But it didn't rain, and it was still interesting. So, but I'd say it was still very Monaco.
Yeah.
It's not like we were really seeing overtakes or anything like that. It was just more of penalties, really. I think the penalties played the biggest part in a lot of what the drama was, because you like Gasly going from P3, crossing the line in P3 and finishing P7. So I think it was still very Monaco, but maybe the penalties did help quite a bit. Yeah.
That's the solution.
Yeah.
I agree. It seems to be, let's just try and get off track action to make Monaco an exciting Grand Prix. The sort of, it's Monaco. I don't know about you guys, but I am getting frustratingly bored with it. It seems like it's a race that's just there for prestige and for what it means to the sport, which I can understand, but there's not really anything for it in the drivers. It's just sort of, it feels like another qualifying. It's not an actual race. There's not much to do on track except maybe do a pit stop to try and undertake people.
Yeah, it's one of those races where if you end up missing qualifying, you're like, oh crap, now I have to just watch the race. It's all the action. But at least this race had something to at least smile about or be scared about because it was interesting. And for Monaco, it's quite interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. Next up is Barcelona. It's straight after Monaco. It's this weekend. What are we thinking for that? I mean, it's a difficult one to gauge in terms of these new regulations. We don't know exactly how the cars will fare. I think obviously they tested it at Barcelona before the season, and I think it was quite tricky. I think a lot of drivers weren't particularly positive coming out of it, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Obviously, there's been tweaks since. So yeah, I mean, Antonelli, can he make it 6?
I think he can.
I think he can as well. And I also saw a sort of insane statistic that if he gets this 6th place win, he's got the same amount of wins as George Russell has in his entire career.
I forgot how George has won.
Which is a bit like, again, it's that generational talent that we are seeing. If you've got 6 wins in one season, which is the equivalent to the more senior driver in your team. I'm just gonna put that out there for Russell. It's not
looking good.
It's not looking good. I wonder if he's maybe starting to feel the pressure, feel the heat a wee bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure he was thinking, Lewis is gone. Now is really my time to shine.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, Lewis was struggling while I came into the team, but now he's gone, so now I can really shine. And you're bringing an 18-year-old kid, so how can I not shine? But Russell is Russell. He's really talented, and I think unless some really bad luck strikes him again this weekend, I think he's gonna be on the podium as well.
We saw him and Antonelli fighting in Montreal. I think that we've touched on that a little bit. That Russell still has this tenacity to win and this mentality to execute amazing moves on track. So I guess he's not someone to be discounted anytime soon, but Antonelli's not going to make it easy for him.
Yeah,
for sure. But screw it, George Russell for the win, I think. I'm going to just throw one out there. But yeah.
I'm going Hamilton. He's improving.
No, I mean, and it's P2 on the standings now, so it's just we can only go up from here. I refuse to go down.
Yeah, just P2
lose it.
I think it's coming though. I think Hamilton. I think I'd be pretty surprised if we don't see a Hamilton win at some point this season, because not only Ferrari have shown really good pace, at least in certain tracks. You just never know what can happen, especially when those two Mercedes are battling towards at the front. So yeah, hopefully sooner rather than later. But yeah, I think we'll wrap things up there. It's been a pleasure once again, and yeah, Barcelona's next. Looking forward to it. Let's hope for a lot of on track action.
100%
podium.
Yes, Lewis Hamilton podium and win if possible.
Yeah.
Great.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.